Dude, that was insane.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Guiliana on Drumeo. Thank you.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
You are one of the most requested drummers to have in to Drumeo, and we've been talking a lot back and forth over the last couple months, so I'm finally glad we're able to have you out, and you're always welcome here, buddy, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful sounding drum set, too. Huge thanks to Jason McGurr for helping us out with this. Huge thanks.
Thank you, Jason.
And I got to say, we've had a lot of drum sets inside of Drumeo, but this is the one that I think I'm the most jealous of. I don't want him to take it back. So,
beautiful drums, and yeah, it's just a real joy to get to know. You know, we were talking before, I played in Seattle a couple months ago, and he graciously offered for me to borrow these drums. And yeah, it's just such a nice instrument to explore and look around and try to find some inspiring sounds.
Big time. Well, it was a really cool solo. We got a lot more coming for you guys today. Thanks for joining us, by the way. We're going to be talking with Mark, and Mark's going to be teaching a lesson on exploring creativity around the drums. And now, if you don't know who Mark is, he's one of the most influential drummers of our time, I have to say. You just won the Best Jazz Drummer Award from the Modern Drummer Readers' Poll 2017. You just recorded with David Bowie, your latest album, Jersey, with your quartets out, which you guys can find online. Here's a copy of it right here. You're also the author of the title of this lesson in a book, Exploring Your Creativity Around the Drum Set. You can check that out right here. And we're going to be giving away 3 copies of both the book and the album. So all you need to do to win that is, once this lesson hits YouTube, 30 days from the release date on YouTube, just leave a comment. What was your favorite part of the lesson? And we'll randomly choose a winner. We'll get you a copy of the book and the album as well. Okay? Very cool. Now, to follow Mark online, just go to his website, markguiliana.com. You can find all the social links and everything like that there.
Just me, just my name, yeah.
Yeah, pretty chill.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this. Huge thanks to the sponsors again. Thanks to Jason McGurr for allowing us to use his drum set and his snare. Huge thanks to Gretsch. Huge thanks to Remo and Sabian as well. Yeah, exploring creativity around the drum set. I'm going to leave it to you, and I'm actually really looking forward to just learning from this.
Yeah,
so,
cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. I'll do my best. Yeah, I think, you know, the ideas, the book was a bit of a culmination of years and years of just trying to figure out how to build my own ideas and make my own musical statements. When I was younger, I didn't have any of my own ideas. So I was very lucky to have some incredible teachers. My first teacher, his name is Joe Bergamini, who's a great friend and a great drummer. And I was with him for a few years, and then I started studying with John Riley, another incredible mentor of mine. And you know, in those days, I needed them to provide the content. You know, I didn't know how to, you know, make my own statements inside the music, and they were great guides for me, and I still look to them for inspiration. But as I started to play more music with other musicians, which is the real joy, you know. As much as just a disclaimer, as I'm here on my own today, and I love playing drums, and I love the challenge of trying to make a nice musical statement on the drums, but it's really playing with other people that gives me the most joy, and that's what inspires me to practice, and that's what keeps me going. It's the, you know, playing with other musicians that, you know, when you start passing the inspiration around, and particularly improvising.
Yeah.
Searching in the moment, really looking for the ideas that are unique to that moment. And, you know, it can provide some really euphoric results. And that's what I'm chasing.
Yeah.
Always
that's the end goal for you.
That's it. To get a chance to get to create with other musicians that I really admire is one of the things that brings me the most joy, for sure.
So the solo you played in the beginning, that was all improv, and I know that because I'd never heard you play that before, and you were even saying right before the live lesson, what should I play, what should I play? So how do you get there? Right,
so again, when I was younger, the way I was practicing was I needed to work everything out at home. So I would practice something until I thought maybe it was ready to be played in a musical context.
Yeah.
So I would build that confidence at home with the specific material, whether it be a beat or a fill, and then I would get into a musical situation and I would put it in there, whether it was right for the music or not. It was the thing that I had prepared. So, but I realized, now this is to say that I love playing parts. I love great songs. I'm happy to play a part and play the same fill in the same place if that's the best thing for that song. So today will be more about an improvised environment. I love that world, but I also, the majority of the playing I do is in a more improvised setting. So when I was in those situations, I realized, wait, how do I know what the music is going to need until I arrive in that moment? So that thing that I thought was cool that I was working on in my parents' basement, 19 times out of 20 was not the right thing for the music.
Sure, yeah,
when I arrived. Actually, I think it's worth saying a little. If you guys know this saxophone player named Wayne Shorter, one of my heroes, he talks about improvising in a really interesting way. He says he thinks of improvising as entering the unknown. And you can't plan for the unknown, but you can prepare for the unknown.
Right.
And there's a huge difference between planning and preparing. So when I was younger, I was planning. I said, I'm going to do this. And then I would get into the unknown and do it. And, by definition, I'm not in that moment any longer. I've sent myself back a couple days to when I was practicing to inject that material. So, but I can prepare. So that's what I'd like to talk about today is, since I don't know what the music will need in any given moment, how can I be prepared to give it what it needs?
Beautiful. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically, instead of preparing specific ideas, it's more about preparing general fundamental tools that I can reach for in the moment to hopefully create that best musical choice in any given moment. So there's actually four, there are many tools, but I've found that focusing on 4 different tools has really helped me build these ideas. The first one is dynamics. Dynamics is, the volume at which you play, and I think dynamics are actually the most underrated musical tool we have. I think it's very easy to take dynamics for granted. And particularly in the softer zones. These drums are tuned in a specific way and these cymbals react so well at quiet dynamics. And I find that 2 things happen. You can discover new sounds inside of your instrument at quieter dynamics, and it makes people lean in a little bit, maybe. If you're just constantly throwing sound into their face, it almost makes them go like, whoa, okay. But if you start to leave space and explore these quieter zones, it's almost like, wait, what? And I found that it makes me listen a little harder even to these sounds, and on a good day it'll make the people listen a little harder, which I think could be a great thing.
Right.
And then once you have them leaning in, then you can go anywhere, So number 1 is dynamics. Number 2 is rate, which is, maybe a term that people hear more often is subdivision. The way the beat is organized, the space between the beat. So 8th notes, triplets, 16th notes. That's number 2. Number 3 is orchestration. So where on the instrument you play an idea. And number 4 is phrasing. So I think of phrasing as where in time you play an idea.
Right.
So for example, if you start that idea on beat 1, it has a certain feeling. If you start it on the end of 1, it has a different feeling. If you start it on the middle triplet of beat 3, so on and so forth. So all of these tools alone can be expressive. And I'll try to go through each one and give a brief way to work on it. But it's really as you start to combine these tools that really your options seem to become limitless.
Right.
And the big thing is that, you know, I'm looking for, the intention here is to be able to manipulate and reshape an idea to make it appropriate for any given musical moment. Because it's impossible to have so many individual ideas that you can just in the moment select the best one.
Right.
It's virtually impossible.
Right.
So what if you only have a few ideas, but they're malleable to the sense that you can grab it and make it appropriate all in one gesture?
By manipulating the dynamics, the
Exactly.
rate. Now in the book you call this the drop.
Exactly, D-R-O-P,
Got it.
drop. Yeah, it's just a convenient way to
I like it.
way to remember it. But yeah, just to sum up this little intro, I think if you gave me the option of having 500 really cool ideas, but that I couldn't change at all, or 3 ideas that I could do anything to, without a doubt, I would take those 3 ideas. Because I know from those 3 ideas, with these tools, I will make, you know, again, seemingly a limitless amount. Whereas if I can't change those 500 ideas, then I'm stuck and I'm just hoping those work.
Right.
You know?
So your focus shifted on learning all this different content or vocabulary, and it went to really mastering these 4 main key points.
Yeah, trying to certainly, you know, mastering is a hefty word.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
This is the stuff that I'm still working on every day, and it's really a perspective change. Before it was, what can I do for the music? You know, what am I currently able to do that I could put into the music? And that was my younger self. And now I'm playing from a place of what does the music need, and then can I do it?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So quite often, you know, for me, the masters are the ones who can identify what the music needs. And then the fact that they can provide that is very special, but that's not what makes them brilliant. It's the fact that they can listen in such a way and interpret the music that they know what it needs.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right? And then they do it. But it's not that I can do this and I hope it works.
Right.
You know?
So how do we use this drop system to explore our creativity?
So let's see. In order to demonstrate the tools, each tool, we have to pick a theme.
Okay.
So that we can send that theme through the tools. So today we'll just choose a really basic theme. And it's this. I'll play, for all these examples, I'll play a quarter note on the hi-hat just as a reference. It doesn't mean this is the most musical choice all the time, but
Sure.
for today's context. Okay. So believe it or not,
Okay.
that's actually music. That's a musical statement, okay? Very simple, very plain, but intentionally plain, so that we can feel what these tools do to it. First, we have to analyze our theme. Okay, may I ask you? Okay, what dynamic would you say that is?
I would say it's medium dynamic.
Totally.
Yeah.
And whatever you would have said otherwise is still correct.
Okay.
Because we
I like that.
we all have our own definition of dynamics, right? So for me, I'm always trying to expand my range, but wherever that is for you, it is for you. There is no absolute loud, quiet. Anyway.
Okay.
So, and then let's hear how that will sound at different dynamics, okay? Again, very, very simple, but incredibly powerful. It's important in all these examples, we're looking for how the feeling changes, the emotion changes. It's one thing, because if my drummer brain says, here's this simple idea, now I'm just playing it louder, that's not cool.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But wow, the emotional impact of playing that idea very loud, if you were to put that into the music in a certain place, wow, you know, you can really make a huge impact just with dynamics, okay? Again, dynamics are incredibly important. I think especially, I encourage you to explore these quieter zones. It's so much music, I think, is hiding in those quieter zones and just waiting for us to explore them.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next tool is rate. So what kind of notes is this theme?
16th notes.
16th notes, okay.
Yep.
So we have 5 equidistant 16th notes.
Yep.
So how, now if we change the rate, how will that sound? So I'll play 2 times through original 16th notes, and then I'll play them as triplets.
Okay.
So whenever I move to another rate, it's very important that the theme itself never changes, the identity. So it's always 5 equidistant notes. What kind of notes? Whatever rate you choose to play. So on and so forth. So now, this is challenging. Already, you know, we kind of hit a wall, like, wow, why is it so much more comfortable to play the 16th notes, and then I move to triplets and my balance is off, and the sound has now changed, and holding the stick, all these things. So changing the rate is essentially just, we're just changing the space between the notes, okay? And we do this all the time, every day, all the time, especially when we're communicating.
Okay.
If you choose to speed up a phrase just to make a point, to get a point in, or if you choose to slow down and really deliberately explain something, we do that without realizing it. We do that very, very organically. That's what we're doing here. If I do it without the pulse, I think anybody could do it. Any non-drummer, non-musician, if I ask them to play. Now you say, play it slower. Right? Play it faster. Anybody could do that. That's very natural.
Yeah.
The challenge that us drummers have, us musicians have, is to do it in regards to the pulse.
Right.
So, right? So I would go through as many different rates as you're inspired to go through and really just play this theme. And I would start out actually playing all the notes of a given rate and then start working on moving between the rates, because that can be very challenging too. And then you can start to take specific ideas like this one and play them through the different rates. But again, don't forget to acknowledge the more emotional side. So this has a certain feeling. This has a different feeling. That has quite a different feeling. So ideally, I think the master musicians, when they're playing and when they're improvising, when they make a choice like this, it's for that emotional gesture. It's not, now I'm gonna play it as 30-second notes.
Yeah.
Right? It's whatever that kind of magic is, you know, and that they make a choice that they feel inspired to make according to maybe the things that are happening around them and the music around them. So we need, it's kind of 2 layers of the brain. You know, we need to do this homework. There's no shortcut, unfortunately. I'm sorry. This for me, this is really what I'm still working on the most, every day, trying to move between the rates with clarity and with confidence.
Right.
So that inside the music, I'll have the confidence to reach for a certain rate that I think is best for that moment.
Right, yeah.
The third tool is orchestration. So far, our theme has only appeared on the snare drum. Now we can move it around. but we'll only move it around as 16th notes for now. So quite simply, first you can start out by moving the entire theme around. Okay, so this is a pretty minimal setup, so I only have so many destinations. But already, although in my body, nothing's really changing from, it's kind of moving the same. In the music, the effect that can have on the music is quite different.
Right.
Okay, so it's important to acknowledge these small differences actually as significant, potentially significant musical changes. Even medium mezzo piano 16th notes to forte 16th notes are two very different musical statements. Even though it's sounding pretty similar, it's important to acknowledge these as new options.
Right.
So even though this is one idea, that's another idea, right? Of course, it gets a little more interesting as you start to break up the orchestration, per note, and start to move it around. And this is a good insight into a method I use, not a method, but something I incorporate a lot in my practicing. I try to incorporate improvising into my practicing. And I think of it as like research and development, just how many different orchestrations can I find, And
Sure.
I'll just turn the lights off and play until I start repeating myself or until I hit some sort of wall. But it's not very systematic, because how many different 5-note orchestrational combinations are there? It's
Quite
too
a
many
bit.
to really quantify, or,
Yeah.
that's not the way my brain wants to think of it. So let's see. So for time's sake,
Sure.
We can just go and go and go. And that last one I actually included combinations of sounds. So until then, first try not to combine any sounds. Just everything is one note at a time, one sound at a time. And then as you start to combine the sounds, that really kicks the door open for seemingly infinite possibilities. But again, that is... I would encourage you to, because this is a great example of you and I could spend a half hour and write out as many different 5-note combinations as we could just with orchestration. And then we could post all of those and send you the PDF, and then you work on them. But that just feeds into the trend of someone else providing the ideas,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So we are all capable of discovering many of these possibilities on our own. So please, inject your own personality into this stuff. That's why the original example is so basic, because anybody can use it, and the feeling of creating your own variation is so much more empowering than playing the one that I chose.
Right.
The one that I chose is of no more or less value than the one that you will choose, right? And I think that's the most important thing. This is really, again, trying to get into that gateway of creating your own ideas and having the confidence to create your own ideas, and then having the confidence to, inject those ideas into the music that you're playing.
Based on what it calls for.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we've done dynamic, rate, orchestration, phrasing.
So again, where in time does this idea appear? So where does it start if we're in 4/4?
Well, you've been starting it on the 1 every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So within 16th notes, per beat, there are only 4 different places it can start. So I'll play 2 2 of each. I'll play the original starting on 1. I'll play that twice. Then I'll start the idea on the E. So I'll move it into the future 1/16.
Okay.
And then I'll go to the and, I'll go to the until we get to beat 2.
Okay.
So on and so forth. I hope that's clear. So again, that has its technical challenges. It took me a while to relax and be able to play that. But more importantly, the effect that it would have on the music and the emotional side of it really changes. Totally changes.
Big time.
And you are recording these memories and these feelings as you're doing it. You're saying, oh, wow. When it's on the 1, it's very settled. It's very welcoming, like a nice firm handshake. Hey, hello.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But if we just move it 1/16 note into the future, then it's like, whoa, almost like somebody punches you in the arm or something.
Totally.
Right? So it's the same idea, but because we're moving it, it has a very different effect. And by definition, we could say it is a different idea, even though it's all the same,
Makes sense,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So, as I said, each one individually is quite expressive, but it isn't until you start to combine them that the magic starts to happen. The magic, I don't know, you know, some exciting things start to happen.
No, I'm
David Copperfield. Anyway, so let's go in reverse order. So let's stay with phrasing, but let's introduce rate as well. So what if we are using triplets?
Okay.
There are 3 different places inside the beat for this idea to start. Again, 5 equidistant notes. So how does the original sound? Okay, so here we go. Starting on the second note. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. On the third note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so that was starting in each. 8th notes, there's only 2 places for it to start. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay.
Right.
Of course, you can move it to start on different beats as well, but inside the subdivision, those are the options. And as you move to different rates, especially higher rates, there'll be more options inside of each beat, right?
Yep.
I don't think we need to do that today, but you can imagine, I hope it's clear,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's see, that's changing quite a bit. We're really adding to our arsenal now, but we're still only on the snare drum. So how would that start to sound orchestrated? So let's just choose one orchestration for demonstration's sake. Let's say
Okay.
5 notes. Now, let's go back to our 16th notes. So now we're going to use, we've determined our rate of 16th notes. We've determined our orchestration. And now we're going to focus on phrasing and move it to those 4 different places inside the beat.
Okay.
Okay? Okay?
Love it.
So it's still very systematic, still a little dry, you know, but again, we're identifying which tool we're using and how it's changing our original theme. Quickly, I'll just play how this would sound through the different triplet options.
Okay.
Right, so now that, especially with the bass drum as the last note of the phrase, maybe for that first one, wow, I've never had to play the bass drum on the middle triplet to end a phrase. Now I know what to work on, okay? So quite often, by attacking this stuff from the musical side and trying to figure out ways on how to create useful musical phrases, that will then inform what you need to work on.
Totally.
Instead of just kind of not knowing what to practice, and then you say, what should I practice today? Well, please, someone tell me what to practice.
Mark, you're a genius. I love it.
No.
I love it.
Well, so it's okay, I want to improve my musicality, and in doing so, you're gonna, come across many drumistic obstacles that need to be addressed. And then that's that pivotal moment where, wait, why isn't this one working? Okay, hit pause from your creative musicianship practicing, and you say, all right, I need to get to the bottom of this. How can I really get comfortable playing the bass drum on the middle triplet?
Right. Work on your independence. Or
Totally,
your
yeah, totally. So, now as we start to include these 4 tools, where can we go? We can go anywhere, really. I'll try to now play a solo only using this idea.
Just the 5-note idea.
Just the 5 equidistant notes, and that's the rule. Anytime I go to play something, I have to play that.
Okay. But you're going to change the dynamic, the rate, orchestration, and the phrasing.
Yes, so fast forward 15 years of working on this stuff.
Okay.
No shortcuts. And now the computation is virtually silent in my mind. When I first started working on this stuff, it's going to be really loud. That voice of telling you how to work on the tools, and 1 and 2 and all this stuff. And that's how it should be when it's new. And over time and over using it and building the confidence, it gets quieter and quieter and quieter. So now when I'm playing, I'm relying on all that homework and trusting the work to hopefully make something that's interesting to listen to.
That was such a good point that you said there. You guys rewind that and watch it again if you need to. That was brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens.
Okay.
So again, I'll play the hi-hat, the quarter note on the hi-hat, just for context, because it's only me today, but it doesn't mean that's the best thing for the music. Also, I'll be thinking in 4/4, but that's just anything. It can be, this isn't an exercise in 4/4 or an exercise in any time signature, really. It could be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I find that's actually a helpful way to practice, because later, the music will tell us what meter we need to put the stuff in. We want to predetermine the least amount of stuff when we're practicing, right? I'm kind of floating in a vacuum right now, and just trying to get these tools, build confidence with the tools, so that later, now I'm in a musical situation. The music is going to tell you the energy and the emotion and the meter and the where it's going and the sound that it needs. So I don't want to, be too specific in the way that I'm preparing this stuff.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool. All using the 5 notes.
I think so.
Maybe once or twice.
This is being quite professionally documented. So there might be a few instances where I cheated unintentionally with, a 4-note idea or 6-note idea. But yeah,
I love it.
The whole time, I was thinking about one thing the whole time, and it was that one idea. So this is still very much an exercise.
Right.
Okay? I don't think my rules would be so strict in a musical environment.
Of course.
But quite often, this is how I think, at least to start something. When it's that feeling of like, okay, play. It's like, well, what do I play? Oftentimes, it's through reductive measures that I figure out how to start.
Elaborate on that for a bit.
So, for example, especially in an improvised situation, it's like, okay, just play. It's almost like the options are paralyzing. So if I say, well, I'm only allowed to use the snare drum and the hi-hat, and I'm gonna play quiet. Go. Now it's like, okay, I can just kind of start.
Right.
And then I'll maybe just as a challenge, I'll try to live inside that environment for as long as I can until I feel stuck or I'm not really making great music, and then, say I introduce the tom, and and that's what I was referring to with this previous solo. At any moment, I could choose to introduce a new idea, but maybe I played for a minute and a half or 2 minutes or something. It's a really exciting feeling to, after 2 minutes of playing, now you've just moved on to idea number 2. Again, when I was younger, it was idea number 1, idea number 2, idea number 3, idea number 4, idea number 5, because I couldn't do anything with them other than what they were.
Yeah.
So before I knew it, A, I ran out of ideas, B, they had nothing to do with each other, C, I didn't even know what idea number 1 was at that point, So if your goal is to create an interesting narrative and a somewhat of a memorable journey, then it's really helpful to stay inside one character, if you will, and just develop that character until that girl, let's say, that idea, we'll say that's a girl, then she meets some dude, and he's, and then, oh, now we meet the guy, and then, wow, where's he gonna go?
Right.
And then, and then they start talking, and now it becomes this thing, and where are we going? So it's a little bit, it's a nice way to be patient, try to, not everything has to be so tidy and logical, but if you do choose that path, which quite often leads to really musical results, this is a great way to get in there.
I love it. There's so many great tidbits in there, and I just love how you put parameters, but basic ones, and you almost simplify your practice by not having to learn all the rudiments and all these exercises, that vocabulary that there's just tons of it out there. Instead, you're focusing on just being ready for when those situations arise.
Yeah, and there are, I should say this is the way I'm always thinking in every musical situation I'm in. I'm trying to approach it from this way.
Yeah.
But, again, thankful to my teachers like Joe and John and a long list of guys. I went through seemingly all the books. I went through the rudiments. I was in marching band. I played with the school choir. I played in the pit band. I did the jazz thing. I was in garage rock bands. I was really trying to immerse myself get my hands on as much music as I could. So I passed through those things, but I've found that for me, all I could do now is speak from my own perspective today, and this is how I'm thinking when I'm playing. So there's a chance that maybe the best thing for the music is to play a paradiddle between the floor tom and the snare drum. But you're playing that because the music is asking you to do so.
Yeah.
It's not, now I'm going to play a paradiddle between the floor tom and the snare drum.
Or I just learned this beat. Let me find a way to put it in the song.
Right. So all those things are very, very useful, but only try to,
Yeah.
ideally the perspective is from, what the music needs as opposed to what you can offer it.
Well, here's a question for me, because we have a lot of beginners that watch our videos, and obviously you've gone through the other side. You've done a lot of your regimented work. You've worked on your rudiments. You understand some theory and all that. So as a beginner, where do you start with this? Is this something that you would encourage beginners to start doing right away? I mean, you don't need to be a genius to play 5 notes equally spaced apart, but the same token, where you took it, that's hard to do. So is that something that as a beginner you'd say just to start exploring with, or do you recommend that they do some of the basic stuff first?
A little of both. I think it's okay to understand there's no shortcuts and really just start hitting this stuff from the ground up. But I think it's also okay to fast forward and say, I want to just improvise, right? What's that going to sound like? And anyone can improvise. Everyone improvises. Every moment of every day are these little micro improvisations that are happening, and it's very organic. Even the most mundane, repetitive activities that we do, like brushing your teeth. I'd bet money that of all the times you've brushed your teeth in your life, which is many, 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 many times, you've never done it exactly the same way twice.
I'm never counting how many strokes of...
But even if you count, like where is it going, the pressure, the temperature of the water, the amount of tooth, all these little factors contribute to a unique experience. So it's an improvisation every time, even though you don't realize, you're thinking about something else. Driving is a great analogy, You cannot plan on exactly what you're going to do before you get in the car. You can have an idea. You're prepared.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the street and make a left. But what if, now, you have to be in the moment. That's one of the biggest things that you have to really be present. That road is closed. Oh, I'll go to this one and I'll go around. A car comes into your lane, you got to move over all these things. You're not going to say, this is my lane, and just let somebody hit you, So it's those things. It's
I love that.
It's happening all the time.
Yeah.
But for some reason we sit down at the drums and we're like, I don't know, I can't improvise. I don't know what to do. So I'd say, just as an experiment, go really exaggerate and take drastic measures and try to just make some noise. Even if you don't think of it as music, and you're like, I don't know theory, or I can't play good time. What about just noise, sound? So I would encourage anyone to sit down and just okay, now, what was that? Well, that could be someone dropping sticks from the ceiling and it's just random, or it could be a really heartfelt musical endeavor, And the intention is what differentiates the two. So if you say, this is dumb, I'm just gonna make some noise, well then it's dumb and it's just noise.
Yeah.
But if you say, I'm really gonna put my heart into these sounds and let's see what happens. Anybody can do that. The most difficult thing is to start to play these ideas in time. And that's hard. And that's why we gotta work on especially rate. That's like the biggest. We're going to do a specific course on rate. That's the hardest one to really get going, play these ideas with the pulse. So let's eliminate the time and just start to play some things. Make some noise, move around the drums in a way that you hadn't before. Have you ever played the bottom hi-hat? Have you ever scraped the floor tom? Have you played the bass drum with a stick? This is really just open your mind up to new sonic possibilities.
Right. Yeah.
And that, even just as an experiment, even if you're never in a musical situation where these things can be used, we're just opening our mind to these possibilities so that if there was a moment inside the music, you're like, wait, I have these dark cymbals, I need a brighter sound. Oh.
You know that because you've explored it before.
Right?
Yeah.
That's actually the brightest sound I have. These two, right? So now I know where to get that, So it's just again, that preparation.
I love it.
Cool.
I love it. Great, great, great information in this lesson. And I encourage all you guys who are out there, guys and girls watching this lesson, watch it a few times if you need to. The exercise you started out with is very, very simple, but where you took it is very, very complex, especially where you can take it. And I loved what you're talking about, almost reverse engineering what you need to practice. You might find something you want to do with the rate or the phrasing, but physically you just can't do it. So
Absolutely.
you step outside of that and you figure out what it is that you need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the idea of discovery, of exploring different sounds in there and being aware and, like you said, prepared for when the music calls for a certain sound or a certain feeling, a certain tension. You know how to recreate that on the drum set, which is what it's all about. Right?
Absolutely. And just, again, to reiterate, I love the drums, but I love music even more, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, even when I'm playing alone, I am in search of music, you know? And it's really, as much as I value the homework that we need to do on the instrument, I've found that what has really made me become a better musician was playing with other people. So I kind of think of it as like, practicing drums will make you a better drummer. Playing with other people, playing music with other people will make you a better musician. Yeah. So for me, I know, you know, I'm very spoiled. I live in New Jersey, just outside of New York City. There's so many incredible musicians. I get to play with great musicians a lot, and I'm so grateful for that every day. And I understand that not everybody is around maybe musicians that they can play with and all these things, but I would make that priority number one. Try to create environments for yourself to explore like this and to be playing music with other musicians, because, you know, that's really where I grew. You know, I put in my homework. Okay, I can get around the drums. I have some technique, but it wasn't until I was really in musical situations that I felt like, okay, now I know how to use this and where I could go. Yeah. And then, yeah, it's just like, it's also immediate feedback. And again, it sends you back to the practice room knowing what you need to work on and all this stuff, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, there's a ton there. We're going to be filming a whole course with Mark inside of Drumeo Edge. If you guys want to check it out, head on over to drumeo.com. We also are going to be doing a lot of cool videos inside of, well, we're going to be releasing them on social as well. Facebook, we did 4 solos with you today before this lesson.
We did.
All of them were improv, and each one was so different, and they were awesome. So thank you so much for that. Again, if you guys like this concept, he digs into it even further in his book, Exploring Creativity Around the Drum Set. And I've gone through the book. I think it's great. Tons of stuff you can get from it. You can find it on markguiliana.com, or all the info on markguiliana.com.
Yeah, and the book, I really, you know, the exercises, there are exercises in there, there's stuff to work on, but I did my best to leave room for everyone's individual personality.
Yeah, there's even spots where you can write down your own stuff,
yeah.
which is really cool.
And the you know, I really tried to convey these ideas in a way that isn't so absolute. I don't have the answers. These are just observations for me, you know. So please, you know, disagree with me, you know. You know, find your own way. That's the most important thing. There's the only way to discover oneself is to actually do it yourself and look inside, you know. So yeah, I hope you feel inspired to do so.
Awesome. Well, I definitely feel inspired, and I hope you guys do too. Again, if you guys want a free copy of his book or his latest album, Jersey, you can go on our YouTube page 30 days from when we release this video on YouTube. Just put a comment in what your favorite part of the solo. Maybe the solo was your favorite part, but what your favorite part of the lesson is. And we're going to wrap it up because we are getting close to that hour. We have a couple questions that we'll get to in the interview. We're going to do an interview with you tomorrow inside of Drumeo Edge as well. So all the questions that we missed, which are a few, we will get to tomorrow. Is there anything else to add before we wrap everything up?
No, I think maybe the last, that was a fast hour. Wow.
It goes by so quick.
That was cool.
It's crazy.
I guess the one thing is, again, just speaking from my own experiences, you know, like music and this instrument is such a source of joy for me that every choice I make, I want to reaffirm that feeling, you know? So if I maybe end up in a musical situation that tarnishes that feeling, I'm gonna get out of there. Or if I'm making certain choices. So for me, this is such like a safe place. You know, this is the most relaxed I've been all day. When we do all this waiting and we're setting up and it's like, okay, and now it's like, okay, go. Oh, that's the easy part.
Now you're chill.
You know?
Yeah.
So this has become a really safe place for me, and I'm very lucky to be able to get to play music as often as I do with the musicians that I get to play with. It's so I hope that everyone in their own way can develop whatever their relationship's going to be, but really cherish it and don't take it for granted. And if you love the drums and you love music, I think you're steps ahead of many people, because not in one's lifetime, not everybody even gets to taste that joy, you know. So I think at the end of the day, just be grateful for that and try to keep that alive, you know, because if the drums aren't fun one day, then I'm not going to play them, you know. So I'm just hoping to keep this thing alive and just keep going, and you know, that's it. Just kind of keep going.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark. Hey, again, thank you for coming out.
Oh, thank you.
You're always welcome.
Everybody here, such a great team.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys all later. I'm going to get you to play us out. Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do
Improvise
it.
another solo, if that's all right with you. I know you've done quite a few already for us.
No, that's all right.
But
I'll do my best.
Okay. We'll see you guys all later. Bye-bye.